I'm interested in the question of the relationship between the idea of an open society and religious tolerance. I think historically these ideas have been very close together. The foundation of liberal societies in the Enlightenment was based on the principle of religious tolerance. That was one of the principles of liberalism. But I think it's worth asking what toleration or tolerance really is, or what it really means. And one thing I think that's often misunderstood is the relationship between tolerance and criticism. And this would mean that to tolerate religion means that you must think religions are of the same value, all of the same value, or the same value as the secular view, or something like that. This, I think, is a mistake, because I think the true meaning of tolerance is that you can only really tolerate things that you object to. I don't tolerate those things I believe in. I tolerate things that I think are in some way objectionable, or that I have a negative view of. An open society or liberal society should not be a society of conformists. Nonetheless, it's true that people in the sort of liberal communities that we live in tend to share a bunch of core values. It ought to be possible for people to live together in such a society and not share all their core values. We can't constrain people's thought. That's a very important principle that comes from the history of religious tolerance. You do not constrain thought. The state cannot constrain thought. The law cannot tell people what to think. We need to distinguish between what we tolerate individually as people and what the state will tolerate or allow. A sensible doctrine of toleration does not say that we tolerate absolutely everything, and we will not tolerate objectionable behaviour, and the rule of law needs to be imposed upon those people who do behave in objectionable ways. And that shouldn't be controversial. I think that a sensible doctrine of toleration shouldn't imply that we tolerate everything, any more than a sensible doctrine of free speech should allow that people can broadcast obscenities from the centre of a city for whatever they like, saying whatever they like. So my book is about what attitude atheists should have to the phenomenon of religion and to religious believers. And part of the book is a critique of a dominant atheist conception of religious belief. One of the things I want to say is that a lot of atheist writers today, particularly those inspired by science or analytic philosophy, have a misconception of what religious belief actually involves. They think of religious belief as involving essentially a sort of proto-science or a simplistic cosmology plus a rather simplistic ethical view. That's what I call the science plus morality view of religion. But I think one of the things this completely misses out is the fact that people go to church and they pray and they meet together with people of the same faith, whether it's they go to the church or to the mosque or to the synagogue or the temple. And they come and they say words, many of which have little to do with the cosmology or the theory of the universe. And they say words that people have been saying for hundreds of years. And these things bind them together in a community. And so I have a critique in my book of this atheist conception of religion based on an acknowledgement of what I call identification, just identification with others as a group. And I think that's something that's left out of the atheist writings that I'm considering.